Hello, and thank you for joining us, everyone. My name is Heather Ricciuto, and I will be your moderator for the next hour. Today, we'll talk about pathways to cybersecurity employment for career changers. And I'm joined today by Annabelle, Christine, Farah, Juliana, and Manjeet. Thank you for joining me, ladies. I would like to start with perhaps a bit of a provocative question, which is, can you really make a career change into cybersecurity from other fields? Juliana.
Sure, happy to jump in on that one, Heather. Absolutely, you can absolutely make a career change into cybersecurity. I work with a training program called the Accelerated Cybersecurity Training Program that's run by the Rogers Cybersecure Catalyst. And we have seen success with a number of our alumni coming from a wide variety of different backgrounds, people with education in creative writing, philosophy, marketing, urban planning, environmental studies, who have all pivoted their careers and been successful in finding work in cybersecurity. Some of our alumni have worked as teachers or chefs. We've got pharmacists and doctors and dancers, all part of our training program. And every single one of them has been able to pivot successfully into cybersecurity. So to answer your question, Heather, yes, you definitely can.
Awesome. So now I'd like to ask you all to introduce yourselves, and hopefully your introductions will lend a little bit of visibility as to why you're here on this panel today. So Juliana, you mentioned the Accelerated Cybersecurity Training Program. Would you like to add anything by way of introduction before I move on to the other ladies?
Sure. So my name is Juliana Shar. I am the program manager for the Accelerated Cybersecurity Training Program. I'm pleased to be joined by one of our esteemed alumni, Annabelle, today. And we are so grateful for the opportunity to speak with individuals who are interested in career paths in cybersecurity and talk about how there's opportunity for people to make career change into this space.
Thank you. So why don't I move to Annabelle on that note then?
Sure. So I actually studied mechatronics engineering at University of Waterloo. After graduation, I worked at IBM, but as a system administrator. It wasn't until recently that I made the career change to cybersecurity. And the Ryerson program helped me with that, the learning of security to make that career change.
Thanks, Annabelle. Christine.
Thanks, Heather. Hi, everyone. I'm Christine, and I work with this cyber security strategy, risk and compliance. That's a big term, team within IBM Security. So the way I got in here is I did my education in information systems, before which I worked as a SAP security consultant. And I always knew I wanted to do something in consulting. And when I moved to Canada around 2.5 years back, I was looking at different opportunities where I could get into the consulting field, but still have a bit of my experience that I had with SAP security. That's when I did a program with ACCES in cybersecurity and transitioned into IBM. And I've been working with IBM for around 2 years now, and I've been loving it.
Thanks, Christine. So let's move to Manjeet, because Manjeet comes to us from ACCES Employment.
Great. Thank you so much, Heather, for having me join the panel. My name is Manjeet Dhiman. I am Senior Vice President of Services and Strategic Initiatives at ACCES Employment. And we are a nonprofit organization here in the GTA, and we do a wide range of employment programs and skill development programs. One of the programs that we are here to highlight is our Cybersecurity Connections program. And we do focus on supporting internationally trained professionals and newcomers to Canada to secure meaningful employment in Canada, and leveraging their backgrounds and their international skills and experience.
Thanks, Manjeet. And Farah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Farah Mohammed. I'm one of the project manager in security here in IBM. And prior to me joining IBM, I was a project manager, but more into hardware deployment. I joined IBM through Women Tech Reentry program, and that program was dedicated to women who've been out of workforce for 2 years or more. And that's how I made my way through to IBM. And honestly speaking, joining security, it makes me feel like security in itself, it's a domain that has a lot of branches and a lot of learning opportunities. And it's been amazing for years that I've been with IBM.
Thanks, Farah. And I know that you mentioned to me the other day, really you've always worked in IT, but so you didn't necessarily see yourself as a career changer. But to me, what you did is you refocused your career specifically on cybersecurity. And we're so happy that you did, because we're so happy to have you in IBM Security. And you were actually part of our very first tech reentry program in Canada here. And can you comment on what did that program mean to you? What did it do for you and your ability to re-enter the workforce?
This opportunity actually was a very big confidence boost. When we joined that program, it gives an opportunity for women to for whatever reasons they had to step away from workforce, to have this window and this door open for them to come back. The good thing about this program, which I found very amazing, was that we were sent to a trip to Armonk for at the headquarters, and we were able to see the executive who were running this program and how they're supporting and investing in this program. We were able to be introduced to different executives from different departments within IBM. So you'd see, and most of them were women actually. So you could see how this company is, there's a diversity on the people who joined, people who had doctoral degrees, people who just recently, coming back from maternity leaves, people who were immigrants. So there was diversity, there was opportunity for everyone to be able to come back. And for me, I was working in Dubai for multiple years and I came back. I thought that I'd easily find a job here, but when I couldn't, and this program presented itself to me, it changed my life, and it boosted the energy in me to come back and work and give back to this company.
Okay, you're choking me up here.
And yet I was the first cohort in Canada and the second cohort for the program in general.
Thank you for everything that you said. It's very inspiring. So I want to go actually over to Juliana. Can you tell us a little bit more about the ACTP, or Accelerated Cybersecurity Training Program at Rogers Cybersecure Catalyst, and exactly how it works? I know you have multiple cohorts throughout the year. I know that you have one that's dedicated to women. So can you tell us a little bit more?
Yeah, thanks, Heather. So the Accelerated Cybersecurity Training Program at the Rogers Cybersecure Catalyst, it's a little bit of a mouthful, is the program that I work with. And it is a 7-month intensive training program that is designed to support individuals who are looking to pivot their career and change their career into cybersecurity. So it's been specifically created for individuals who don't yet work in security, but who are passionate about the space, who are self-studying, and who are trying to learn and trying to break into the industry. This is intended to create a pathway for individuals. We've developed it in partnership with the SANS Institute, which is one of the world leaders in cybersecurity training. And so over the course of 7 months, our students earn 2 GIAC cybersecurity certifications, which are globally recognized, the GSEC Security Essentials and the GCIH Certified Incident Handler. And then we also cap that off with a 1-week boot camp course that we call Cybersecurity in Business, which is really designed to help people elevate their communication skills, to talk about their technical skills, to understand the impact that their technical skills can have within an organization, and help them to communicate their value propositions. They're going out to interview for different positions. And then we connect quite regularly with industry to help our graduates identify those first jobs in cybersecurity, and we've been really successful in supporting a number of individuals in finding new employment in cybersecurity.
Thanks, Juliana. I see a question here from our audience. Could you comment on some advice to shift into a cybersecurity role within a company? For example, if I want to move from marketing to cyber within a company, what are some best practices? So Annabelle, I mean, you've been with IBM for a while, and yet you chose to take advantage of the ACTP at Rogers Cybersecure Catalyst. So maybe we can start there. What sort of advice, I mean, do you recommend that people go out and take advantage of a program like that, even if they want to stay within their own company like you did?
Well, I definitely recommend it. I think without the program, my transition to the cybersecurity field would be a lot slower because I am definitely passionate in this field. So without the program, it would just be much, much, much more slower. But once I found out about the program and I applied to it, got accepted, as Julia mentioned, I'm now certified GIAC. So I have industry recognized certifications in cybersecurity. So that really jumpstart my cybersecurity career. In terms of how to find roles within the same company in cybersecurity while you're not completely outside of that field, I would say build your network. Talk to other people that are in that role right now, just to learn what the role is, what skills are needed, build your network. Because when they start hiring, they might have you in mind. And that's when they might say, hey, why don't you put in your application?
Thank you. Juliana, have you had others like Annabelle who were in a similar position? They came to they didn't want to change companies, but they wanted to get into cybersecurity within their own company, or was Annabelle kind of unusual?
No, actually, it's happened for a lot of our alumni. What we found is a lot of individuals who come from maybe finance backgrounds or accounting or marketing, they first became interested in cybersecurity, sometimes because over the course of their careers, they've seen a cyber breach or a data concern, or they've seen their companies, suddenly focus more in security, and it really piqued their interest and they wanted to transition in. So there's been a number of individuals who've come to us and said, I'm interested in cybersecurity and I want to help protect the company I currently work for. So definitely there's a lot of opportunity to look for new work, but also to pivot within your current organization where you can really leverage the existing knowledge you have, that organizational knowledge of where there might be vulnerabilities and help secure that company.
Thank you. And Annabelle, I'm so glad you mentioned networking. Building your network and getting to know people in the industry and even within your own company who might be able to help you out. And I'll share a quick story. A woman, an IBMer, came to me, I'll say about a year and a half ago, and asked me if I would mentor her. I had been recommended by a mutual colleague, and she was working on a help desk. So yes, she was working for IBM and she was in an IT related job, but she wanted to get into cybersecurity. So one of the things she did, in fact, was network and, find people who could help her out, give her advice, tell her, what she needed, perhaps she needed to study, or what people she might want to get to know. And in addition to that, she took advantage of as much free online learning as she possibly could. So if you can't afford to go to a boot camp or, go back to school, don't worry, there's plenty of free online training that you can take advantage of as well. And I'm happy to say that about 8 months after I met her and started working with her, and obviously there were more people she had networked with than just me, but she was successful in landing a job in security within IBM. So it is possible and it works. You have to want it, right? And you have to help yourself. Anyone?
This reminded me, Heather, of something I heard a senior leader in security say a couple of months ago. The best hackers in the world are often self-taught, sitting in their own basement somewhere, and the best cyber professionals can learn exactly the same way. So you're absolutely right. There's so much great resources, so much great material, and so many great resources available online for people to teach themselves.
Absolutely.
I can jump in and just say that, you know, I agree, and I think cybersecurity and IT general is such a vast field, and there's so many opportunities to enter at different levels and at different types of positions. So we see individuals who have, you know, sometimes if they have a stronger background in IT or engineering or technology, it can be a much easier segue by specializing their skills in the field of cybersecurity. But for people who don't have a background at all, I think it goes back to, I think, something everyone's mentioned. As long as you have sort of an aptitude and an interest in technology, then it's really a matter of finding the right program to learn, whether it's doing it on your own. We work with community colleges at ACCES. There's programs through Seneca. There are the programs that we're talking about here. There's different opportunities. And of course, this is probably a great time for me to highlight the IBM Skills Build program platform. So our partnership with IBM and how we build that into our employment programs and services is a great opportunity, again, to have sort of curated courses that people are interested in, and then work through those courses. So it's a really great opportunity.
Thank you for mentioning that. Thanks for the plug, Manjeet. Can you tell us a bit more about ACCES Employment and who your target audience is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so ACCES delivers a wide range of programs. We do specialize in supporting newcomers to Canada. So there's a couple of different programs that we offer. One, the cybersecurity connections that we spoke about. Many of the participants in that program do have, again, some kind of a background in technology, but what we're really trying to do in that program is to help identify where are the industries and the specific areas where there is a high demand, and where people can then learn to specialize their skills and do their job search. So that's one of the programs. I also wanted to mention another program that we deliver. It's called Women in Technology. And it was originally funded through the TD Ready program. And it was a grant that we received. And again, we're working also in collaboration with IBM because of the technology and the skills build program. But that's another example of where people are really starting from scratch, and they're really looking at how they can enter into the field with basic coding, and different technology skills that can be stepping stones, right? So when people are, again, starting without any skills or background in technology, there's good ways to kind of look at, well, what are some of the easier programming languages? It could be related to administration, like a database administration and so on. And those would be great ways to get started. It goes back again to earlier points about really having somebody in the field that can really guide you and give you that technical expertise to say, here are some pathways that you can follow. So,
thank you. And Christine, you took advantage of ACCES services when you moved to Canada. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, about your experience and how it helped you? And I also want to get to what you're doing now to give back and help others.
Sure, Heather, we'd love to highlight on that. So I immigrated to Canada 2.5 years back. And when I came in, I came with a master's degree. I had a few years of experience done with kind of similar, as I mentioned, to security, but SAP security. So I honestly did not think it would be a difficult task finding a job, because I was in Australia before and in the US, and I thought the cultures were very similar, the work culture and finding a job, but oh boy, I was so wrong. It is so different finding a job in different parts of the world and the geography. So that was one place where I had to come to a realization that I needed help. And there is help out there that I can take, that I can ask and I can get from. And one of my mentors in IBM, she keeps telling me this, and she tells everyone, where she said, if you don't ask, you don't get. So I took that very much to heart, and I approached ACCES because I had gone through a few other agencies, but when I looked at their stats, they showed that they have the most number of their alumni get jobs. So I was like, hey, I just need a good job. So like, let's go to where the stats prove right. So, and it was right. So when I went there, they really walked me through what my different options were and how I could really leverage my experience with the skill sets right there in the market. And there were consultants who went through my resumes, and it had to change so much. And I'm so glad that, I had a trusted advisor who could just, help me go through it. They, in the 3 months, I think 2.5, 3 months time, we had interviews, like mock interviews. And one of the things I really value about this program is the amount of stress that they put on networking, and they got in different people from different parts of the industry to really talk to us. And that gave me personally the confidence to improve my networking skills. And if anyone talks to me right now, they know how much of an avid networker I am, because I know how much that helped me in my career. And I had also informational interviews. That was very new to me. That was a whole different world I had to learn because that was something I found only here in Canada. And that was what, ACCES helped me through it as well. Saying, how do I find people out there who could mentor me? What's that process like? What are the good questions to ask? How do I follow up? And all these wonderful things. So I'm really grateful for what ACCES did for me. And though they didn't help me get that job in IBM, they didn't give me the offer letter, but they played a big role in me helping get, building that skills and that confidence to get it. So to go to your second question, what I do now is, again, I'm so grateful for what help I got through ACCES and other programs that I understand. I'm not talking about it from a theoretical perspective. This is what you should do, but I was like, this is what I did, and this is what I'm sharing from what worked for me. So I go to ACCES at least 3-4 times a year to give back in different seminars. I'm involved in a lot of mentoring programs in ACCES and other organizations as well. And again, with IBM, I love helping and giving back within IBM. So I'm grateful for that opportunity because I know the value it brought for me.
Well, and I can attest to the fact that you're speaking the truth, because you are someone that I can always count on when I need someone to step in and engage in those types of activities that you were just talking about. So I thank you for that and being so passionate about this. I want to go to Farah. Christine mentioned mentoring. So Farah, have mentors played a critical role in your career success thus far?
Definitely. As I mentioned, the first week that when I joined the program, we had a lot of mentorship from different people and different executives in IBM. And then when we started our work, our management assigned mentorship mentors for each of the cohorts, and it helps in a way that it enables you to understand the work environment faster, get into understanding the acronyms, how the system works. Although I came with 6 years of IT experience when I joined IBM, I felt like I was, that student going to school for the first day without their parents. I had the same feelings because the environment was different, the tools were different, and having a mentor who's putting aside time from their own work and the daily tasks that they have to do to help you understand what you need to do, that was something I cherish and appreciate forever.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment on, the importance of mentors in your career success and in your lives?
Sorry, go ahead, Manjeet.
Sorry, Christine, just picking up again on the comments that have already happened, but I think for us as an employment service provider, mentoring has been and is a really big part of our services. And I think that's, definitely because it's been, sort of tried, tested, and proven that it does work. I think that especially when you're talking about a very specialized field, you kind of need to get that different perspectives You need to have, somebody kind of give you that, the technical skills, as well as the soft skills and so on. You just need all those different perspectives, and somebody who's gone through it or is in that field, that becomes really, really important. So I definitely highly recommend mentoring if you have the opportunity, and again, for us as organizations to implement mentoring programs as a big part of achieving success.
Well, and mentoring can come in many shapes and sizes, and it can be, mentoring relationships can be short or they can last a lifetime. And one of the things that I love that you do at ACCESS is the speed mentoring as part of the cohort graduation ceremony. I've had the pleasure of taking part in that twice last year in 2020, thanks to IBM's partnership with ACCESS. And I think it's really quite phenomenal. And I know that your students really benefit from that. And I hope that many of them have taken the opportunity to then make permanent connections with some of the people that they met during those sessions, whether it was from IBM or from TD.
Yeah. And it also, it's again with speed mentoring, and thank you for that plug. It is a really great, quick and easy sort of program, because as you mentioned, mentoring can be longer term, which is also very, very beneficial. But I think this one really helps create the kind of mindset towards mentoring, but also networking. And it's something that, as in all of our professional careers, personally as well, but certainly on a professional level, connecting with other people and networking is so key. There's a stat that's thrown around that about 80% of jobs are not advertised. So it's really about connecting with people and hearing about different opportunities and so on. So that's such an important way of uncovering opportunities.
I see a question from our audience. What is the best way to find a mentor when you are not in the industry? Anybody have any recommendations?
Let me take a stab at that one. So for me as a project manager, for example, the PMI, the project management organization, they have different chapters all over the country. So if you join one of the chapters, you'll be able to meet with professionals, people who can be your mentor, and you start building your network with them. And these chapters are common across different industries and different organizations. So that's one of the options where you can start your mentorship. You can also stalk people on LinkedIn, not very recommended. And not a lot of people will respond to your messages, but you can start a conversation there. And especially in a company where you're interested, find people that you can reach out, introduce yourself and ask them if they can reach out to them for advice. That's one of the things that I did, honestly. And although that person did not help me get an opportunity within IBM, we became friends after I joined IBM. So these are, and events like this one, especially if it is also in person, that you can start connecting with the people. From there, you can start building your network.
Thanks, Farah. That's great advice. You mentioned local chapters, PMI chapters, and there are so many other special interest groups that people can join. You just have to find the one that's right for you. So there are ISC squared chapters. I often talk about Women in Cybersecurity, or WECIS. We have, when I say we because I'm affiliated with them, I'm the vice president of WECIS Ontario. WECIS has affiliates and student chapters around the world. So just do some research and find the organization that's right for you. Manjeet, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say just that you could frame it as a request for an informational interview. So if you're just sort of trying to enter a field or, get that first meeting, people are often, very willing to share, and just have that informational meeting about a job, a career, what kind of training, what kind of skills, what aptitudes, what do we need? So it is advising, it's, again, it's mentoring, but I think as a sort of a lead-in, if you're not already in the field, an informational interview is nice to schedule. People are very open to that.
Yeah, I would agree. And if I can jump in and just suggest, be open with the people in your life that this is a career path and a career change you want to make. So tell your friends, tell your family, tell your neighbors, tell the person you start chatting with at the coffee shop, because you'd be surprised how someone knows somebody working in cybersecurity. I was actually chatting with one of our alumni recently, and he was mentioning that he recently connected with a senior leader in security at one of the major Canadian banks. And when I asked him how, he said, my wife's a real estate agent and she was showing him a house. So, you bump into people all the time, and your friends and neighbors are bumping into people and connect with people all the time. And it's a really great way of making connections. It's just letting it be known within your existing network that you're looking to change into security, and you'd be interested in speaking with anyone that might have some advice.
You are so right. And that is really great advice. And Farah, you mentioned conferences like Career Expo and Canadian Women in Cybersecurity. Take advantage of being here, right? Network with people. I know it's a little more challenging virtually, but there's the ability to chat online on the Cyber Exchange platform. Don't be afraid to ask people if they're willing to chat with you outside of this, of the platform, so that you can do exactly what Manjeet suggested, have a sort of an informational interview, where I would suggest that you're interviewing them versus them interviewing you. And, and then of course, once we're back in a face-to-face world, I highly recommend getting out there, attending conferences, and networking, building your network.
Mm-hmm. So if I can just add, sorry, go ahead.
No, please go ahead. I was about to change the subject a little bit.
Okay, I was a little bit too, but I was just going to say that I know, Juliana will probably feel the same, but I think with our cybersecurity connections program and the fact that the industry is growing, that was pre-pandemic, it was growing. And I think that given COVID and all the things that have emerged from the pandemic, what we're seeing is a lot more opportunity and growth within the sector. So again, just all of the same things that we've been talking about, like looking at exploring training, exploring, mentoring, and all of these different ways. I think there's growing opportunity within the IT fields, including cybersecurity. And so I really encourage people to look at different pathways.
Great answer to a question that I didn't even pose that's in our chat, which was, do you think with the pandemic, there'll be an increase in the number of people making a shift to cybersecurity? And, I would answer that adamantly with yes, because, a lot of people have lost their jobs. Number one, women have left the workforce by the droves because they've, found themselves in a position where they needed to be at home to homeschool their children or take care of loved ones, you name it. So I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity to make a shift to cybersecurity, and there will be plenty of opportunity for folks to re-enter the workforce if they've left. And of course, the pandemic itself has resulted in some new cyber attacks that we weren't seeing previously, right? So always lots of opportunity in this workforce.
Yeah.
Farah, you said you were going to change the topic a little bit.
Yeah, actually, I was going to refer you to a question in the chat. There was a question about, is it more challenging for women to make career shift than it is for men? And I think that's an interesting question I wanted to address. And I think it is more difficult or challenging for women. And the reason is women are self-competitive. Like, we compare ourselves or hold ourselves to a higher standard probably than men do. And when we apply for jobs, and I heard this from an HR within IBM, is that women tend to check the qualification, and if they don't meet it 100%, they don't apply for the jobs. While if men meet only 70%, they would apply for that. So it's definitely harder for women to do the career shift. It's definitely harder for women to apply for jobs, and that's all because we hold ourselves to criteria that probably is not there in the market. So be open to to take the risk or the initiative to apply for things or make that shift or change, and just go for it without holding yourself or comparing what you have today to what is required in that posting.
Thank you, Farah. You're so right. We're just our own worst enemies, right?
And this, I mean, for any of the businesses or employers that are maybe out there, I don't know if they're on this conference, but I think that's something that I know a lot of businesses are really looking at what they can do to encourage and support women in those positions. And that helps eliminate some of the barriers. So, you know, I think even women, once they're in the workplace, especially in fields that are sort of typically male dominated, they can run into barriers. And so this is where it's up to employers to really look at how they can create an environment that's, and I know, again, IBM's a real leader in this, in terms of creating that kind of environment that's very welcoming for women, and also for people with, you know, from racialized backgrounds as well.
And, you know, there are a lot of myths out there around the skills that are needed, or, you know, the educational background that you need to get into cybersecurity, as well as the type of roles that are in cybersecurity. You know, a lot of people, when they think cybersecurity, they just think hacker or coder. So can you know, Manjeet or Juliana, can you talk a little bit perhaps about the vast array of roles that exist in cybersecurity and the types of jobs that you've helped your students find?
Yeah, absolutely. I think speaking broadly, jobs in cybersecurity typically sort of fall into, you know, 4 kind of broad categories. We've got leadership and management positions to sort of oversee and govern, you know, data and data protection and security systems. We've got roles that build the infrastructure and design the systems and develop the security systems that protect us. We've got roles that protect and defend those systems once they're built, and then we've got roles that are you know, assigned to operate and maintain them. And within each of those kind of 4 categories, you've got dozens of different jobs and dozens of different job titles. And I always encourage people who are breaking into a new field to just start reading job postings, whether it says manager or senior or entry level, it doesn't matter, but just start reading job postings and reading job descriptions and start to get a sense of what is the work that this role is actually going to be assigned to do? What are those duties and responsibilities that this role is fulfilling? And to Farah's point, don't get too caught up in what the skills are that it's listing or the requirements that it says it needs, but look at the types of impact that the role has, and then ask yourself, is this the type of work I want to be doing? And what are the skills that I have that would help me to be successful at that? And I think the more people look at the different job descriptions that are available, the more they'll see that work can be very diverse, and a single job title like security analyst could mean almost a dozen different things in different organizations, depending on, you know, the maturity of their security systems and the size of the organization and the type of work that they're doing. So job titles can be a bit misleading, and reviewing job descriptions really helps individuals to understand sort of the impact of a role. And I think that's the most important piece.
That's, you know, that's some really great advice. And going back to the person who asked, you know, for recommendations for someone who is trying to move into cybersecurity within their own company, I would give them that same advice. And that's advice I often give to IBMers, because we, you know, we have our own internal job posting system, and I often recommend that they look at open positions and do exactly what you just described, so that they can get a sense of the different type of roles that are out there, the skills that are required, and maybe help determine what, you know, the path that they want to take.
Mm-hmm. I can just add a little bit more, and I think that was a great answer, Juliana. And I'm not an IT person myself, so I don't want to you know, go into detail about the skills, but what we do see is, even in technical roles, I think kind of having the soft skills. So, you know, for individuals who do have backgrounds in project management or, you know, being leaders, and then, you know, of course, it's helpful to have knowledge of the technical skills as well, but it's really important to have both. So that would be also my advice for individuals who maybe do have the technical skills and have gotten into the field at more entry level positions, for you to look at how you want to build your career out and progress into more senior positions in management, project management, and so on. We really need to look at some of those soft skills around, being a critical thinker, looking at communication and project management skills, and how that will help you then to progress in your career. So both are really important.
Yeah,
Thanks.
absolutely. There's a lot I think you can also bring from a past career path. Like if you're a marketing or communications professional, or so many organizations right now are looking to build cybersecurity awareness campaigns among their employees, and you can really, build on those skills and bring a lot to a team that's looking to build out an education and awareness program with your marketing background, for example, or somebody who comes from healthcare. So many healthcare organizations right now, because of the pandemic, are being, very, very careful in trying to secure their environments. And you might be able to bring a wealth of information about how data is captured and secured from your previous role. So always think about what you have that makes you different from somebody else, and how you can leverage those assets.
Absolutely. We have a question about salaries in cybersecurity. How are salary ranges affected if you're new to the field of cybersecurity? So I don't know if you have any sort of general answers, perhaps on salary range or average salaries in cybersecurity based on the work that you do, Juliana or Manjeet. Do you have any information on that?
Yeah, I'm happy to share the graduates that have come from our program. Those who come from previous careers in IT from what I've seen, tend to have salaries a little bit higher. But those coming from, than those who might be coming from non-IT backgrounds. But typically they're ranging between, I would say 55 to 65 for an entry-level role for somebody who's coming from a non-technical background and taking a step into security. Those coming from technical backgrounds may be a little bit higher. We typically see between 65 and 80.
And I can tell you in general that cybersecurity jobs do pay higher than other IT related fields, because I mean, the skills are in such high demand. And I know that on a previous panel, one of my panelists actually did a quick search to see what the average cybersecurity salary was in Canada. And she found, now I have not gone and verified this, but she found that it was $97,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think again, to our earlier discussion, it's such a vast field. So from an entry level position, as Juliana mentioned, where you might be making 40 or 50, 60,000, if you're moving into jobs, such as a risk analyst or a project manager, you're looking into then the 90 to 100 and more $1,000. So you become a real leader in the field, and leading teams of people. So there is a lot of room for growth and change within the sector as well. And it is great to see. And again, this is why we want more women in there, because it is good paying jobs as well.
Yeah. And a lot of growth and opportunity to continue to grow your salary too, as your skill set increases.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you just reminded me of a new Canadian resource that Tech Nation put out there not too long, like within the past few months, and it's called Career Finder. And it's a really great resource, actually. So I encourage anybody out there who's considering a career in cybersecurity, go check out Career Finder you'll find it on technationcanada.ca. And I haven't researched the site extensively myself, but there may even be some salary information on there. And I know that there's information on open positions across Canada. So there's a resource for our audience to take advantage of, that I know a lot of people don't know about it yet because it is so new.
Yeah, and it's nice to have as a Canadian resource, because actually a lot of the existing literature and resources around cybersecurity careers come from an American perspective.
Yep.
And so it was really great of Tech Nation Canada to take on building a Canadian-focused resource.
All right, let's see if we have any more audience questions. There's one sort of a comment followed by a question. I find a lot of newbies in cybersecurity are afraid of getting things wrong. What are some best practices to help newbies practice and test their knowledge? Anyone have an answer for that one?
I feel like they're looking for a very technical answer for this, but I'll chime in to say what I did initially. So when I moved careers from SAP to cybersecurity, I had to understand what I was getting into. So I think the part we were talking about informational interviews, mentors, that was very critical for me to understand from a person who's actually doing the job what they're doing. So I guess having those conversations with people to understand what exactly is being done day to day is important. Second is certifications really help. Just starting off with like security plus. I haven't gotten that, but a security plus. And even if you're not getting a CISSP, just reading through that to understand what the different security domains are is a really good place to start with. There are a number of other sites, like a number of hackathons, and I think there's I'm forgetting the name of there's something box where you could go and test out your security skills. I think these are good resources to have where you're testing before actually coming into the workplace to understand if that's a good fit or not. Because I felt like when I was doing my career, and some people told me that it sounded awesome to be like in hacking, but what exactly is it? And is it something that I would do on a day-to-day basis? Though it sounds cool, I don't know. So I think that's a good research to start with as a newbie.
Yeah, that's a really good recommendation. There are so many online competitions that people can take advantage of. A lot of capture the flag competitions. Yeah. This earlier today when we held another panel with a target audience of high school students. So there we talked about CanHack, for example. Behind CanHack is something called Pico CTF. So that's a competition for middle school and high school students, but there are plenty out there for adults as well. And it is a really great way to learn penalty free, right?
Absolutely. And the other thing a lot of people can do is start at home. Find out ways to secure your own home network. Make sure you've secured your own devices. Look to download, a virtual machine like VMware and play around with that a little bit. There's a lot of tools and options out there that can allow you to build a home lab. And that's a great place to tinker around in and to start to practice your skills.
Thanks, Juliana.
Sorry. I was just going to say one more thing I would recommend is looking at the recent threats and vulnerabilities and hacks that have happened in the recent past, just to learn from what happened, could have been done better. Just to have that knowledge would really help.
Yeah, that's a great point. There are a lot of online journals in the cybersecurity space. I could rhyme off many, and even if you just spend a few minutes every day checking out what's in the news, that's a really great learning resource as well. I want to kind of go back to the topic of diversity for a moment, if I may, kind of going back to the theme of Women's History Month and International Women's Day on Monday. Embracing diversity is such a huge part of IBM's culture. And so I wondered if Annabelle and Christine and Farah, if you might comment on what this culture of diversity at IBM means to you, to work for an employer that embraces diversity and inclusion, and what does it mean in your day-to-day life as an IBMer?
Okay, let me take a stab at this. being able to work and be yourself and maintain who you are without having to change is something a positive, definitely a plus working with a company, especially when you're working with a company that's international and global like IBM. I find it easy to express my differences and be accepted, the way I look, the way perhaps, I don't know if you heard my call to prayer coming off a minute ago, telling the customers or telling my managers that I have to step out of the meeting to be able to practice my prayer, and find them being very respectful of that and acceptance. I actually had one of my clients in Quebec, in Montreal, asking me if I'm having any difficulties working with my head cover, if I'm being harassed or anything like that. And I found it very interesting that my client was asking me that question, because usually uh, it was weird. I found it a little bit weird and interesting at the same time, but it makes me feel like IBM appreciate the differences and they look for what value you can bring to the company more than how you look or what's your background. So it really a working opportunity that is based on experience, knowledge, and qualification, and giving you an opportunity rather than just being um, coming from a white background or a certain background that fits a standard or you know. And it's not just they're not hiring diversity. IBM does not hire diversity based on quota. Like, they're not just interested in hiring you to fill a quota. We need 5 Muslims or 10 Asian. No, they really hire you based on your qualifications and giving you an equal opportunity.
Thanks, Farah. Christine, I see you nodding your head. You agree?
I absolutely agree. Yeah. So I have a bit of a backstory behind this, because when I initially immigrated to Canada, uh, like dozens of people told me that, as a person coming new, you have to start from ground up and it will take years to get where you are. And for me, I was like, okay, I agree. Like, there is a process of climbing up the corporate ladder, but at the same time, I have the same experience and education of anyone else here. So that was a bit of a conflict that I had. And when I think about it, with my time at IBM, I've never had that having to face that conflict, because my team is always so supportive of me. They're always there to help promote me, and if I have an idea, they're always there to back me up with it. And I have amazing mentors. My managers within the team are always so supportive. I've never felt like, oh, just because I'm a woman professional, I'm treated one way. Yeah, it's always been that, we treat you like we treat everyone else, which I think is so important. And day-to-day activities as well, especially having that flexibility is really cool, and having that opportunity to give back is also something that I see in IBM, which I value. So IBM values what I value, and they're not trying to change me. So that's something I really appreciate about IBM.
Annabelle, do you have any?
For me, working as IBM, I never had a chance to really think of my voice as a female voice or an Asian voice, because I just have an equal voice as everybody. So it never really crossed my mind from that thinking. It just, I have an idea, I want to contribute, and here it is. I never felt inferior or anything like that. And IBM Canada was recognized as one of the best diversity employers in 2021. So it's a great place to work at.
You guys are making me so proud. I'm always proud to be an IBMer. I've been with IBM for 32 years now, and I'm so happy to hear other women telling stories like yours and attesting to the fact that we truly are a diverse and inclusive company, and that you can come to work and be your authentic self and you won't be questioned for it. And by the way, we have a zero tolerance policy. So if for some reason you are bullied or teased or any such thing, which you should not be, because we all sign business conduct guidelines and agree to that zero tolerance policy. But should you be, put in an awkward situation, by the way, we have processes to support that too. So thank you for sharing your stories. Thank you for making me proud yet again to be an IBMer. We are nearly at the end of our time together today. So I would like to pose one more question, and that is, what is one piece of advice you would like to leave our audience with? Juliana, I'll start with you.
One piece of advice, I would say just, I think as Manjeet mentioned earlier, there's just a plethora of options out there for training and support in this space. Cybersecurity is a growing industry, and a lot of different organizations are trying to meet that demand. Manjeet's program, our program, we are always looking for new people. We welcome your applications. Our program is currently recruiting for our May class. There are many of other great training opportunities out there. So just look for ways that you can connect with this field where you can get some training, and don't be shy. Don't be afraid to join.
Thank you. Annabelle?
My advice to those that want to career change is to go for it. And I think doesn't matter how old you are as well, because one of the things that I keep hearing or questions being asked to me is it too late to make a career change? And that's because there's a lot of perception of a hacker being a young kid in a hoodie at home, just typing away. And I don't think it's ever too late to make a career change. There are a lot of resources out there that will be able to help you make the jump to cybersecurity.
Thank you. Christine?
Well, my advice would be know what you're passionate about and build on it, because security is such a vast field. And as Juliana mentioned before, there are always some transferable skills that you could get on board. So understand, what are your transferable skills? What are your passion areas, and where do you want to put them to use? And just build out that map and you will succeed. That's like a definitive statement.
Thank you. Manjeet?
Yeah, I think building on everyone's comments, I think there's probably no better time than the present. As I mentioned earlier, I think this is a really growing and very important field as things have become more online. People are using technologies, businesses are using technology, and so cybersecurity is top of mind for businesses and for individuals. So I think it's a great opportunity. And use the advice we've talked about, ask questions, do some research, use the organizations that are in your community and business contacts to learn more and see if it's an area that you'd be interested in.
Thank you. And Farah, last but not least.
Building on what everyone else said as well, I just want to mention that change in itself, it's a scary thing, and making a change takes a lot of courage and thinking, but it's also something that is the only constant thing is change. So take that step and know what your passion as Christine mentioned, but have that confidence to make the change and do not overthink it.
Thank you. I want to thank all of you for your words of wisdom today, for joining this panel and sharing your knowledge with our audience. And I wish all of you a happy Women's History Month and International Women's Day on Monday. And Farah, I hope we have not interfered with your call to prayer today. So thank you.
No, not at all. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Heather, for hosting us.
Have a good day.
Yeah.